Hello students, let us continue the revision of chapter 5. Today we are going to learn about sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Sometimes it may not be possible to separate components of a mixer by winnowing and hand picking. For example, there may be lighter impurities like dust or soil particles in rice or pulses. How are such impurities separated from rice or pulses before cooking? See children, you have learned that solid impurities can be separated by hand picking or by winnowing. Large pieces of stones or broken rice and grains can be separated by hand picking, and lighter impurities can be separated by winnowing, like a husk. But sometimes, along with the rice or the grains, there may be some soil particles or dust particles which are attached with the grains and which will not be separated by winnowing even. So what we will do to separate them, what we will do to remove them before cooking? See, rice or pulses are usually washed before cooking. When you add water to this, the impurities like dust and soil particles get separated. These impurities go into water, which becomes a little muddy. Now, what will sink at the bottom of the vessel? Rice or dust? Why? Have you seen that the vessel is tilted to pour out the dirty water? So, for separating the impurities, lighter impurities like a soil particles or dust particle, what do you do? If you are not doing, your mothers will be doing every day before cooking rice. She will be washing the rice. For what? For separating the dust or the soil particles. She will be washing the rice. When water is added to the rice or the grains, the soil particles or the dust particles which are mixed with the grains will be separated. They will be separated, and as they are very light in weight, they will float on the surface of the water. And so the water also will be looking little muddy. The color of the water will change. Then this waste can be removed by decantation, by removing the water, by pouring out the water. The same one type of question was there in your unit exam. When we add oil to water, what will float and what will sink? Most of you have given the correct answer there. There, oil being lighter than water, it will be floating on the surface of the water, and stones being heavier than water, that will be settling down at the bottom. Here also same thing, only same principle is there. So when we add water to rice or pulses, the soil and dust particles which are lighter than water, they will be floating on the surface of the water. And the grains and pulses which are being heavier, they will be settling at the bottom. So easily we can decant the dirty water along with the waste that is floating on the top. This method of removing the waste things is called a decantation. See, when the heavier component in a mixer settle after water is added to it, this process is called sedimentation. When we add water to a mixer, the heavier components, the components which are having more weight, that will be settling at the bottom of the vessel. This is known as sedimentation. And when the water along with the dust is removed out, this is called a decantation. And when we are removing the water along with the waste that will be floating in the water, that is known as decantation. So by sedimentation and decantation, we can separate even the tiny particles of dust and soil which are mixed with the grains and pulses. Let us find a few other mixers that can be separated through sedimentation and decantation. We are going to refer some more examples for that. See. The same principle is used for separation of a mixture of two liquids that you do not mix with each other. This is the question given in your exam. For example, oil and water from the mixer can be separated by this process. If a mixture of such liquid is allowed to stand for some time, they form two separate layers. The component that forms the top layer can then be separated by decantation. Children, this in the first time when I explained the lesson very detailed with the help of the separative funnel. picture I have given as an activity. So when two liquid mixers are there to separate out, what we will do? Like oil and water. Oil will not be mixing with water. You know why? Because oil is lighter than water. So it will be forming a separate layer on the top of the water. Now, if the mixture of oil and water, how to separate? We will take the mixer in any vessel that time, then activity I told you to use the separating funnel. Or in any vessel, you take the mixture of water and oil, then allow it to stand for some time without touching, without shaking. You keep the vessel in one place for some time. After 2-3 hours, you can see that a layer of oil will be there on the top of the water, and water you can see a separate layer at the bottom of the oil. That means you can see two separate layers, oil at the top and water at the bottom. Then very carefully you can decant the oil to another vessel. This way you can separate a mixture of oil and water. But for this activity, it is better to use the separating funnel as I have explained when we did the lesson for the first time. Let us again consider a mixture of a solid and liquid. After preparing tea, what do you do to remove the tea leaves? Try decantation. It helps a little, but do you still get a few leaves in your tea? Now pour the tea through a strainer. Did all the tea leaves remain in the strainer? This process is called filtration. Which method of separating tea leaves from prepared tea is better, decantation or filtration? See children, in decantation and filtration, somewhat the same process only, same way the lighter components will be separated out by separated. But for preparing tea, why you are not using decantation? Because water will, tea leaves are heavier. They will be settling at the bottom and only tea will be there on the top. So we can decant the tea to another vessel or to the cup, leaving the tea at the bottom of the vessel. But that method we are not using in the tea preparation. We will be using filtration. Why? Because even though we decant the tea into another vessel, another cup, there may be some tea leaves coming along with the tea. So we cannot get the complete success in that. Some tea leaves will be there along with the tea. For that, it is better to use the filtration method. When we filter the tea with the help of the strainer, then all the tea leaves will be remaining in the strainer. Only the liquid will be coming out through the strainer. So we will be getting the tea without any tea leaves. Okay. So for the preparation of tea, we cannot go for decantation. It's better to use the filtration method. Let us now consider the example of water that we use. Do all of us at all time get safe water to drink? Some days water supplied through taps may be muddy. The water collected from the ponds or rivers may also be muddy, especially after rains. Let us see if we can use some method of separation to remove the insoluble impurities like soil from the water. Now, the same method of sedimentation, decantation, filtration, etc. are used for purifying the water that is supplied to you in the morning by the SMC. The water sent into our homes will be collected from the rivers. After many processes of purification, it is made potable, means it is made to such a level that it can be used for drinking. See activity 5. Collect some muddy water from a pond or a river. If it is not available, mix some soil to water in a glass. Let it stand for half an hour. Observe the water carefully and note your observation. So you have to take some muddy water, or you take some water and mix some soil to that for getting the muddy water. Then let it stand for half an hour without touching, without shaking, keeping it in one corner for half an hour so that the solid particles will be settling at the bottom. Does some soil settle at the bottom of water? Why? What will you call this process? So if we are keeping the muddy water for some time, you can see that some mud or the stone or the pebbles will be settling at the bottom of the vessel, and somewhat clear water we can see above the mud. Now, slightly tile the glass without disturbing the water. Let the water from the top flow into another glass. What will you call this process? Now, what you have to do, you have done already sedimentation. Sedimentation means the mud particles or solid particles are settled down at the beaker, at the vessel. Now you will be decanting. You will be following the method of decantation very carefully. You will be pouring the water on the top to another vessel. That is decantation. Is the water in the second glass still muddy or brown color? Now filter this water. Did the tea strainer work? Let us try filtering the water through a piece of cloth. In a piece of cloth, small holes or pores remain in between the woven threads. These pores in a cloth can be used as a filter. Now, first we have collected the muddy water, then we did sedimentation, some soil particles, some mud particles, stones, pebbles settled down. From that, we have separated out or we have decanted the water. But that water also will not be fully clean. That will have some light muddy color only because it contains some more particles of mud. Now what we will do? We will be filtering that water. Here for filtration, we cannot use the tea strainer because in tea strainer, the holes are big. If we are using the tea strainer, all the mud again going to come to the filtered water. So we have to use something which is having very fine holes like a cotton cloths. Cotton cloths, we cannot see any holes in between. Still they are having some very fine, very small holes in between them. If we use the cotton cloths to filter this muddy water, we can see that some more mud particles will be remaining in the cotton cloths and little more clear water we will be getting in the third vessel. See, if the water is still muddy, impurities can be separated by a filter that has seen even smaller pores. So in the third vessel also we may be getting water which contains some mud particles. For separating that, we can use a filter paper. A filter paper is one such a filter that has very fine pores in it. Figure 5.9. All the figures I will show and explain one more time. Shows the steps involved in using the filter paper. A filter paper is folded in the form of a cone is fixed into the funnel. The mixer is then poured into the filter paper. Solid particles in the mixer do not pass through it and remain on the filter. Take a filter paper, hold it in the form of a funnel, and keep this filter paper inside the funnel. Then allow the water to pass through this filter paper. Now filter paper is having very fine holes, very small holes. So the water coming out through the filter paper will be fully clean, and even the fine particles of mud will be remaining in the filter, remaining on the filter paper. Now fruit and vegetable juices are usually filtered before drinking to separate the seeds and solid particles of pulp. The method of filtration is also used in the process of preparing cottage cheese in our homes. You might have seen that for making paneer, that is the cottage cheese, a few drops of lemon juice are added to milk as it boils. This gives the mixture of particles a solid paneer and a liquid. The paneer is then separated by filtering the mixture through a fine cloth or a strainer. See, same way, after preparing the fruit juice and vegetable juice also, your mothers will be straining it through the cotton cloths, or by using the strainer. Tea strainer also can be separated. Same method of filtration is using in the preparation of paneer or the cottage cheese. How to make the paneer? How your mothers make the paneer? For that, she will be boiling the milk. When the milk starts boiling, she will be adding few drops of lemon juice. And when the lemon juice is added to the boiling milk, then the solid particles of paneer will be separated, and liquid particles also can see. some liquid particles and solid particles of paneer will be getting in the milk. Then that solid particles can be separated out by filtration. Children, now we will discuss about the pictures from the explained portion. Today's part we will see. Okay, from here. Here it is sedimentation. See, sedimentation and decantation. When we add any solid impurities to the water, the heavy particles will be settling at the bottom and the liquid will be remaining of the top of the solid particles, and if any impurities are there, lighter impurities are there, that will be floating on the surface of the water, and this is the heavier solid particles will be settling, and then this liquid can be separated into another vessel, that is called decantation, and this figure shows sedimentation, and here second figure shows decantation. The liquid will be slowly separating, slowly removing or taking into another vessel, that is called a decantation. So this figure shows sedimentation and decantation. Now next here, filtration using the filter paper. Here the filter paper is folded in the form of a funnel. Then this filter paper is keeping inside the funnel and muddy water will be allowed to flow through it. Then the clear water can be collected in this vessel and all the mud particles will be remaining in the filter paper. Okay. These are the two figures coming in the explained portion. Okay, children, we will continue the revision the next day also.